Hi, I'm Zoe, and this is Literacy in Culturally Diverse Classrooms. So this presentation is intended for 9th and 10th grade American history teachers. So differing characteristics in your students. So some of your students are going to show a lot of growth in some of these areas, some may not. This should just all be taken into consideration when you're making your lesson plan. So first we have independence. You're going to have some students who come in and they're really independent, and then you're going to have students who are not so independent. Then we have reading comprehension. The same thing, you're going to have some students with really good reading comprehension, and other students are going to need a little additional support here. Being able to make good choices and impulse control is something else some students are going to differ on. So teenagers do not have fully developed brains. Some kids may have a hard time making the right decision. Organization. We're going to have kids who come in and they're really, really organized, and we're going to have kids who come in and they're really disorganized, or anywhere in between. Putting thoughts into words or writing skills, this may be something that some students struggle with. They may understand the content, but they may not understand how to put it into words. ELA standard for 9th and 10th graders. So the standard I chose is cite strong and thorough textual evidence to support analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text. This was implemented in 2017. The American History Standard I chose. So I chose American History Standard actually because it's one that's typically taken in 9th or 10th grade. So the standard I chose is analyze the American political system in terms of conflict, compromise, and consequence. This was implemented in 2021. So the nonfiction text that I chose is Why the Union Army Had So Many Boy Soldiers by Francis M. Clark and Rebecca Jo Plant. This was a really interesting article I found on the Smithsonian website, written and published recently in 2023, so it has a fresh perspective. This article tells us what it may have been like to fight in the war as a boy soldier, what a boy soldier would have done, and why there were so many. I also linked it because I had a link for it. The fictional text I chose is A Horseman in the Sky by Ambrose Bierce. I chose this text because it was written around the time of the Civil War, like shortly after the war had concluded, and it follows a fictional family during the war. This text was actually written by a Civil War soldier and shows what life would have been like for those on the sidelines. Which is a really interesting perspective. So with these two texts I chose, students can use textual evidence to be able to analyze parts of the American political system by learning about the conflict, compromise, and consequences of the American Civil War. Listening and speaking strategies that support American history standards. So I actually found two strategies I really liked, and I kind of put them together. So pair, share, and paraphrase. So you're going to get with a partner, pair share, and then you're going to paraphrase what your partner has shared with you on a piece of paper, go around the room until you've heard from all the students in the classroom and written down what they had to say. Reflection of my own biases. So as an educator, it's important that I recognize my own biases so that I can understand them and not act on them. Everyone has an implicit bias. You may not even know, but sometimes they come out and you don't know about it. That's why it's important that you reflect on these. And when you understand your biases, you're more conscious of them and you're more likely to not act on them. Understanding cultural, ethnic, gender, and learning differences. These are important concepts to understand so that you can relate and understand your students a little better. They may come from different backgrounds than you. Ethically, teachers have to uphold values to protect students despite their differences. To build relationships with students, you need to know about them and you need to know about their background, and you can't have biases towards that. You want your lessons to be relevant to all your students, and you want them to represent all of your students. Culturally responsive classroom. Implementing culturally responsive instruction and literature in my classroom is the first step to doing that. Students should see themselves and other people represented in their classroom, and the representation also helps students to learn about different kinds of people. Creating a sense of compassion and caring in my classroom. When you talk about caring and showing compassion for others, students are going to learn how to do that from you. And you should always encourage your students to be compassionate and caring, and you should embrace differences and encourage your students to do the same. That's it. Thank you.